Welcome back to Soul Light Collective with Diane and myself, Karen. And Diane and I are talking today about um, our awakening, our spiritual journey in our bodies and with our emotions and how we're experiencing all of that and how our I want to say our bodies and our emotions come online and
Mm.
we start to feel things a little differently. And so that's what we're here to talk about today, right? Everybody experiences everything differently, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And I'm sure Diane and I have had different experiences, which I can't wait to explore. And I'm going to let Diane start. Go right ahead.
Wow, where to start?
Where to start?
I think for me, it all started, I would say looking back, it's really hard to tell, but I was having a lot of physical symptoms that I believe was my wake-up call. It was almost like the perfect storm happened to me in regards to my health. And it was all sort of stress induced related. I was ultimately diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and that really got me to start to pay attention to how I was showing up for myself physically, not just how I was exercising or moving, but what I was putting in my body. And more importantly than either of those things was what words were I speaking over myself, and how were those thoughts, those words expressing themselves physically, right?
Mm,
And that really was the beginning of my awakening journey to my body was like, it was like the check engine light was going on, right? And caused me to start really paying attention to myself in a way that I had not done before. Um, yeah.
yeah, you bring up it's a check engine light, right? That's like that's right where I go, right? Because our bodies are these containers, right? These that we're
Vessels.
in, um, they go along just well. They're like we go along just fine. And then something
So we
even
don't.
emotionally can happen, right? Or we can start to go through a freeze up phase or something's happening in our lives and we don't want to look at it.
Mhm.
Um, and that can manifest through the body for sure. And I not from an autoimmune place, but for me, it would be like my lower back would start screaming. And I
Mhm.
used to just pop that Advil and, get on the foam roller and just get power through it and everything's going to be fine. And you start to realize that there's a connection in there. I'm moving through something and my body's holding on to it. Um, that physically like would come up for me early in my awakening of separating a little bit about like this is new, this is different. Why am I dreaming about this? And now I'm feeling this something I was afraid of in my dream came up, and now my back is seizing up. And how am I going to deal with that? And there's that comes up. That comes up. We start to connect to our bodies in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, and there's that also that other like there's that emotional component to it of like what am I feeling, what am I taking on, um what am I feeling when I go out to a restaurant, like why am I why am I like for the first time I walk into this restaurant that we go to all the time and it's too loud for me now, my ears are like, oh, I can't, like what, like and having your partner look at you like what the heck is wrong with you? We come
Yes.
here all the
Oh
time.
my gosh, I can
And it's
relate
just
to
like,
that one.
and having, I can remember like having to go stand in the code area and be like calming myself down and breathing
Mhm.
and grounding like learning that I needed to ground my body. I needed to ground into my body.
Yeah.
What did that mean? People would say, go ground. I didn't know what that meant.
Mhm.
Um, and like these were early on things that, came up and I didn't always have somebody to say to me, you're fine, you're fine. Um, Terrible colds that would come up or
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like and then first time I heard somebody say to me like, oh, you're just purging. You're purging all that emotion that you were holding on to, and like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, that makes no sense. I have a physical cold, but nobody around me was sick, and I didn't go anywhere, and I didn't do anything differently. Um, but my body's manifesting through a sinus infection right now. It's just fascinating to like start to look at things differently. And that's that
Right.
awakening. That's that
Right.
that observation of like what is really happening. What
Mhm.
like what else do you think on some of that?
Yeah, well, going back to the back pain that you mentioned, I
Mm,
also had chronic back pain for years, starting in my teens. And I always chalked it up to, and I think I've mentioned this on another video, I'm, like 6 feet tall. And so it was more like a postural thing. And I
mhm,
was, always trying to shrink because I didn't want to be taller than my friends. I didn't want to be taller than all the boys. So I um, always just in my head, well, it makes sense that I don't have the best posture, therefore my back hurts. But in reality, our spine is our support system. That is our structure, the base of our structure. And so when there is physical symptoms going on with the back, like we have to look around at that. That's what supports us. So that connection, that body mind connection, body mind spirit connection,
mm,
it got me to think back years later. Well, I had no support at the time. I had nobody that was supporting me. Those that were closest to me were not understanding what I was going through. And, that was back to like childhood trauma stuff and all that. But I think it is so important to start looking at what, like, autoimmune disease, right? What is that? That is
yeah.
actually our cells are attacking each other. Like it's our body is attacking um us, right? And so that is like, so there's so many autoimmune diseases out there. And it's like that was my thoughts, what I was speaking over myself was attacking me physically.
Mm,
And so there's so
yeah.
much connected with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm kind of laughing because over the last 2 or 3 over the years I've always noticed my feet, like my feet actually going back, like my feet have been a problem since I was born. Like I remember having an early spiritual teacher say to me, oh, you have the feet of an angel, they're not supposed to touch the earth. Like what? Like my feet hurt, like they feet I hurt, they're wide. My feet have bothered me all my life. They've never fit into apologies, they've never fit into shoes properly, and it's just like my mother like, oh, you and your feet. And it's just so, but that has come with me into my adulthood,
Ingrained. Yeah.
muscular and pain that I've had, and my big toe recently just didn't want to bend, and not being like I need to take an anti-inflammatory for that, being more like where am I not stepping forward? Like, right, that was a
Yeah.
big one for me. And
Yeah.
it was hurting right up through. I just recently took a big trip and I was worried, like, oh, my big toe is going to be a problem. Like I'm not going to be able to, and it didn't hurt the whole trip. And it hasn't hurt since I've been back. And like I needed to go. I needed to give myself permission to move forward with something.
Yeah.
Um, and how amazing is that, right? Just
It's
that our
amazing.
bodies are here supporting us on our journeys, and they don't, we
Teaching
don't
us along
teaching
the
us.
way.
And I meet with so many people who are like, oh, this hurts and that hurts, and oh, and a big one that came up with my healing practice was the sacral and the
Mm.
female reproductive system,
Yeah.
and how many people would be coming in and holding lifetimes, holding this lifetime,
Lifetimes with the
holding that
sacral. Yeah.
feminine. I almost want to say like holding on to that dark feminine, um, um, lifetimes of, I won't get into like what it could be, but
Mhm.
sending it love, right? Sending it love, clearing it, and allowing our spiritual body, which is
Mhm.
here to serve us and lift us up, right?
Yeah.
To, help us move through some of these pains and uncomfortableness, and to get to the point where we can be in self-love
Yes.
and hold ourselves up, right? I'm sitting here smudging, hold ourselves up properly, and move through our day and move through our with our light. Like, because there's that light component also when we're all hunched over and we walk into a room and you're feeling anxiety, like it's not good. But when you can walk in and you're like, I'm in my power, I'm in my body,
Leading from your center, leading from
right?
your light, the light
With our
within.
light, there's such a difference.
Oh,
And it's so funny because, eclipse season's coming around, and I was just remembered of a memory I had yesterday, that back when we had the 2017 eclipses, I feel like that was a big one for me. Like, I had a big awakening through that. I remember, like, oh, I'm supposed to go out and ground. I'm supposed to go out. Oh, it's an eclipse. I'm going to go out in my yard. It was August, and I'm going to go stand in bare feet. And this is special. I'm going to do this. I'm new to all of this. And I was outside in my bare feet, and I could feel electricity moving up through the earth into the
mhm.
bottom of my feet. I was like, what is that? Like, I've never felt that before. Like, what's happening? Like, what? And it was amazing. Like, I think back to it now, but I was in a little bit of fear. Like, why can't I walk? Why can't I walk to the mailbox in bare feet for the rest of the summer? And, we are connected with the earth, and she is supplying us with what we need. Um, and paying attention and feeling it, letting that, like, that zap come up through the bottom of my feet. I'm like, did I step on a bee? Like, what's happening? It's just fascinating. What are some other thoughts that you have?
I guess, touching on not just the physical and how, through the awakening, how our bodies, physical bodies through the awakening can express, so do our emotions, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
and it's all that beautiful process of release. And a lot of people may not call it beautiful because it's uncomfortable, right? And
Yes.
I remember the first time I heard the phrase or saw the phrase, I think I saw it on a t-shirt that I bought because I loved it, probably back in like probably like, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. Uncomfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Mm.
Getting getting to the point where we are okay with whatever is happening. And so much anxiety, so much fear, because that's what we're being bombarded with in the world, right? And being married to somebody who is obsessed with the news, um, that was very challenging for me because I didn't want any part of it. And it was like I was taking on, and being the empath too, taking on the energies of the world and just not knowing how to process that, not knowing what to do with that, not even being aware that I was taking that on at the time, which was making me feel worse, making me feel more anxious, more fearful. Um, and but the grounding, once I connected it, like, oh yeah, like this is energy, that you're taking on,
Energy.
this is energy that you are experiencing, whether it was showing up as grief, sadness,
Mm.
depression, anxiety, fear, all of it, right? Doubting, judgment, resentment, anger, all of those things that I been working through year after year after year, um, and just being able to get to a point where I now, when any of those do um, surface, it's like, oh yeah, there you are. I know who you are. I know who you
Mm.
are. You're here, being present with it, and like just getting curious around it. Just like,
Yeah.
isn't it interesting that I'm experiencing this emotion right now? What are you here to teach me? Versus before I would, try to numb them out and not want to experience them because they didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So turning to alcohol, turning to food, turning to, whatever,
That nightly glass of wine
the
is,
nightly glass of wine
yeah.
or two some nights, uh, the scrolling, the Netflix binging,
Yeah.
all of those things that we tend to do. For some people, it's shopping, or there's
Yeah.
there's so many distractions that we can, unhealthy distractions. And not to say we can't have any of those things, but it's like, again, it's that check engine light. Like, where am I putting my attention? Am I being able to be fully present with what my body is trying to tell me, what my body is trying to release? Or am I stuffing them down, stuffing my voice down, stuffing my emotions down, ignoring my pain? Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
process, and it's all here for us to learn from.
Yeah. And I'm feeling it's like, so like what is the best advice to somebody who is like, wow, my body is feeling different right now. Like I'm emotionally feeling things on a different level right now. This is part of my awakening. They're questioning, why do I keep getting the same cold or the same body ache, or, and you've beautifully just brought us through like all of those numbing mechanisms that we've been brought
Mm,
up with and programmed with. And we're just, this is what we do in this family. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do know that, like, I just wanted to say that, like, what's the number one thing that, like, if someone said to me, how do I deal with this? And I think you'll agree. And it's getting back to the breath, right? Coming back into the present moment, being present with yourself, breathing into your center, taking that moment of what am I feeling? What's really happening here? And for me,
without
that's
judgment,
that
without
judgment.
judgment,
And that's
right?
that message to go within,
Yeah,
right? Not to let somebody who's standing next to you, like, oh, what's wrong with you? What's going on? You're always complaining. Go within. I understand. Thank you. Thanking my body for showing
yeah,
up. Thanking my emotional system for, I woke up this morning with, I could feel the anxiety this morning, and I know it wasn't me. Gosh, I slept like 9 hours last night, and I woke up with like, whoa, and I was feeling this reverberation, right? And that's another video that's like, we're going to get into all of that. But I'm okay. I know where I'm at, and I'm breathing, and I'm in my body, and I'm ready to face my day.
yeah. Beautiful. So good.
Yeah.
So good. And
So yeah,
that's really it. That just the um being present with what is, and giving yourself a lot of grace and self-love and compassion, because
yeah,
you're exactly where you are supposed to be
yes. You are
on the
exactly.
journey, on the
Yeah.
journey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm Karen. This is Diane. All of our information below. Let us know if any of this came up for you, or anything you heard, or you want to leave a comment, reach out to us. We both offer free connect calls. We
Share
would
what
love
you're going through. We
share
would
what you're
love
going
to
through. We would
hear
love
your
to connect and
community.
continue the conversation with you. Yeah, we're building community. That
Yeah.
is, yeah. All
And
right.
if you have any requests on topics you'd like for us to cover, we are always open to that as well. But so glad you're here, and from my heart, and Karen's heart, to your hearts, to your lights, the light of your soul, the light within. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.